I've already sent you. I've also sent all of you a template document.
Yeah.
I think all of you have received it. Start working on that template document. Start filling up information in analysis, in design, implementation, and issues, especially issues. You all are having issues. Uh, Even if it is a host issue or a virtual machine issue, it should be mentioned. The resolution should be written there. Um, so yesterday we started with Active Directory, inside Active Directory. Inside Active Directory starts with Hasib. How many types of Active Directory? How many parts of Active Directory are there? Starts with?
Physical.
It is a physical AD. It's a physical and logical. Okay. And
Physical is sites and servers and sites.
physical is sites and servers. Excellent. Very good.
And logical is
Forestry.
forestry.
Logical is forestry. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. And too much information. And next question goes to table number 1. And the question goes to you. What are the logical parts of Active Directory?
Forestries, domain,
Forestry domain, excellent. Which is
object and
forest,
Domain, object,
tree,
domain,
domains,
objects,
object,
and
And-
attributes.
And in object, etc.
and attributes. Excellent, guys. Give him a hand. Excellent. Good remembering. Did you read it from there? No. It was.
You cannot even see. It's
You
too
cannot
dark.
even see it. It is blurred for a reason. Okay, the next question goes here. How do you explain forest? What is forest? Your options are: it's a real forest.
Forest is basically first boundary of the
It is
domain.
a first security boundary. Very good, guys. Give him a hand. Excellent. Good remembering. What is your definition there?
The logical boundary of the Microsoft.
It is a logical boundary of
Microsoft
from Microsoft for
for
Active Directory. For Active Directory, it's a logical security boundary. So how do you explain that in as visually? How do you explain forestry boundaries visually? So
Like
we
a
can make a
triangle?
triangle, outer triangle, inner triangle, and then in this triangle inside you have Active Directory, which is exactly like this. So these are logical security boundaries. We already know that. Security boundaries. So this one is forest, tree, and domain. And then you have a DC inside. So tree, domain, and objects. So how do you define objects, Ijaz? Object,
User and computers.
yes.
And groups.
It is, yes. Objects are
users.
User and
users and computers. Users and computers. Users and computers. So think of objects sitting inside Active Directory, inside a domain controller. So you have a domain controller, inside you have all these objects. And then all these objects have attributes. All these objects have attributes. Any example of an attribute?
This is basically the first name.
First name, last name, address, telephone number, all are those. So excellent. Now we do remember this, that what is Active Directory. Now, if anybody can explain, yes, now we know inside Active Directory, we also have some idea how Active Directory works in different companies, right? So can you try to explain, how can you explain Active Directory, why Active Directory is required for Dr. Dave's clinic?
Because to control the resources,
To control the resources, yes.
and for the security reasons.
For security reasons, remember the guy with that
Yeah.
hat?
Hat.
So yes, that's security
Research
person.
control.
So without Active Directory, nobody can go
Can go
inside the
inside.
clinic.
Yeah.
Because nowadays these cards, the smart cards that you swipe and then go inside the company, these are also connected to your Active Directory. So excellent, very good. Active Directory is required for security reasons. Excellent. So guys, here let's move forward. So Active Directory is divided into two structures: physical structure and logical structure. physical structure has two parts, which is server and sites. Sites are basically physical location, but it can be more than physical location as well, which we go into more detail. And then server, then forestry, domain, object, and attribute. Guys, other than this, Active Directory is actually so we can say Active Directory. What is in Active Directory?
What is in?
What is inside Active Directory? Yes, we do know. Yes, it has objects, and objects have attributes. But what do you think? What is stored inside Active Directory?
Just a mechanism to
Yes.
control.
Yes, it is a mechanism to control. But my question is, what is stored in Active Directory? What is stored in Active Directory?
Customer data?
User information.
Information.
User information. Your all information is stored in Active Directory. So now your all information is stored in Active Directory. This is my DC. So to start with, if there is no Active Directory there, what type of server is this? If there is no Active Directory, then what type of server is this? Yes,
Standard.
it is a standalone server. It is a standalone server. So guys, remember this. Servers are of three types. Servers are of three types. So first of all, we already went through, since we are going through W2K8 R2 here. W2K R2, what type of version does it comes with? How many versions are there? It has, yes, data center. It has standard. It has enterprise. And it has a data center. It has data center. Standard version. Standard version for who? Umar? For smaller organizations, right?
Yeah.
It is for small organizations. It is for small business. The biggest disadvantage here is it does not provide you high availability options. So it does not no HA. In other words, no clustering. I know for most of you, cluster is a new word, guys. But cluster, remember, one word for cluster is high availability. If a server cannot provide high availability, it is lacking a huge big feature. But then the big question is, if it doesn't provide high availability, then what good is this server for? Guys, if it does not provide high availability, it is still good for many non-critical applications. Not all applications are very critical. There are some non-critical applications as well. So this is good for, so in companies, what they do, we use a mixture of standard and enterprise servers. In companies, we use standard and enterprise servers. So this is for small businesses. And then this is for medium to large businesses. It is for medium to large businesses. Other than this, it gives you a high availability options. It gives you high availability option, which means clustering is there. Clustering is there inside. So it comes with a clustering. Whereas data center is for large organizations, and data center license is not given to everyone. It is first, so this is just for large businesses. Now, when it comes to these different versions, you might think that how are these licenses divided in organizations? So guys, in all organizations, there are critical and non-critical applications. In our environment, there are
Critical and
critical and non-critical application. Critical and non-critical applications. So think of this. So this is the complete environment. And let's say, take an example of TD. Let's take a TD. In TD, let's say there are, and I'm talking about just servers. So there are all these servers. Let's say these servers are 8,000 servers. So these are all of the servers. Now TD has to decide if all of the servers will be enterprise servers, if all of the servers will be standard servers. Now guys, Should they buy all servers as being enterprise server just without thinking?
No.
No, they cannot. Why? Because enterprise would cost them 999, whereas standard would cost them 499. So there is a huge price difference. And when you're buying 4,000 servers, 4,000 licenses, this is a huge difference. So what we do is normally in TD, what happens is we would divide all applications into critical and non-critical applications. So we'll say some applications are critical and some applications are non-critical. Guys, what are we understanding here? We're trying to understand the licensing. So this is called a license. I have a standard license. I have a standard Windows 2008 license. I have an enterprise Windows 2008 license. This is, now you can say this is all under licensing. Licensing. In licensing, it comes with three types of licenses: standard, enterprise,
Right.
data center. And then standard is for small organization. It doesn't come with high availability option, whereas enterprise comes with is for medium and large organization. It comes with high availability options. And then you have data center, which is large businesses. Now, when it comes to all these different type of licenses, how do you decide which type of licenses would you need? As being a system admin, this is your responsibility, not your manager's responsibility. Because your manager is relying on your knowledge to spend dollars and buy licenses. So then you need to understand that large environments like these, or maybe medium-sized environment, people would divide their application critical and non-critical. Guys, critical applications. So I would say some of my applications are critical and some of my applications are non-critical. Critical applications are those applications that affects your sales or dollar amount directly. If those applications are down, your dollar amount or your revenue for the month will go down immediately. So for example, a critical application for TD Bank might be their online website. Their online. So critical application for TD, let's say, is their online website. Now, online website. Why would online website? How would online website would affect their business?
If the website is down,
If the website is down,
users not going to use it,
user won't be able to use it. Yes,
and their business is not going to
and their business can be affected.
Sure.
Now, going down to a very simple example, maybe there is this guy, and this guy has an account in TD, and this guy also, same guy has an account in, let's say, in BMO as well, at the same time. Now, he needs to use this website to move some funds from here to here. Let's say while moving these funds, and these are considerably large amounts, this complete website goes down. If it goes down, transactions are down, this guy would immediately think, oh no, this is not a good bank. I'm just giving you one example. There are hundreds and thousands of people doing different transactions. So guys, so because of this example, this application is considered as critical application. For this application, I would definitely go for enterprise license, because enterprise license comes with high availability. So this is one example. Now, what is an example of non-critical application? Guys, non-critical application example is, let's say, a print server. Which one?
like
So non-critical basically should
Yes.
not affects them.
Non-critical, now all application from one time or another, they would affect users. But critical applications are those that would affect the monthly revenue or yearly revenue. But this one, non-critical applications are those, yes, they are affecting the environment, but they are not directly affecting your revenue. For example, a print server. A print server is a server that has drivers for all printers in your network, right? Now, if this one machine goes down, yes, temporarily people cannot print on these printers, but then at the same time you have other servers with other printers as well. So if they cannot print here, they can print here. So in all departments in large organizations, if this is one floor, If this unit is one floor, I would keep two printers here on two different servers. If one goes down, they can still go to the second. So based on this, this is non-critical application, and I would go for standard license on this one. So based on this quick example, quick discussion, we can say that, okay, for this server, this is, I need enterprise license, enterprise license, enterprise license, enterprise license. Whereas for all other machines, I would go for standard.
Yeah, that's
Standard.
not decision.
Standard, 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 enterprise. This is how we decide which version do we need to go for. Either standard, either enterprise, either data center. Data center won't be given to organizations, but standard and enterprise does. We buy them, but at the same time they affect your dollar amount as well, because so here you need to buy 1, 2, 3, 4 for $2,000, and whereas 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for $5,000. If you go with all of them with enterprise, then how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. $9,000. So you're saving here at least $3,000 to $4,000 in licenses if you go with a calculated view of your. This is called a calculated analysis. Yes.
I have a question. But most of the companies nowadays, I think they have servers now. We cannot suggest them to buy anymore.
Yes, you're right. The question is, what? Mostly you might not need this information because most of the companies are already set. So
Yeah.
answer is no. All of the companies are at one point or another are upgrading from older environments to newer environments. And when they are upgrading from older to newer, you as a system admin, they would expect all this from you. Now, the same discussion will work for Server 2012 as well. Server 2012 comes as this. And this discussion is to give you that overall idea that how do you select. Now, there are many other factors as well other than this. But this is, if you're able to explain this to someone, they know that, okay, you know what you're talking about. Okay, so this information. Now, for us as here in the beginning, we need to remember that 2008 comes with standard, enterprise, data center, standard for small business, enterprise for medium to large, data center for large organizations. And then how do you go through the selection? Critical, non-critical application. Critical that affect the revenue directly. For example, online website. For example, for Air Canada, it could be their online ticketing system where people buy tickets, or maybe the flight schedules as well. And same like for OHIP, for government services, for all of them, they have critical applications, some have non-critical applications. So this is about licensing. Guys, take just 2 minutes and discuss all this in a group of 2. And both person in a team need to describe this licensing. So both person in the team need to describe this license. Starting from licenses, 2008 comes in 3, and then it is business, it is this, and so on. So starting from
Okay.
my left to right, the person sitting on my left, guys, everyone, person sitting on my left is explaining, and person sitting on the right is listening. So please start here, and please start on this side and move on. So Umar, you're explaining, and both of you are listening. So quick.
You're explaining, so
All
I'm
points.
explaining.
No, she's explaining.
But I was asking them a question. It's okay.
Don't look. Don't look.
No, it's not a test.
Maybe it's not.
Okay.
Just see if you remember.
Kind of forget
Just to
it.
correct you, so it's a Windows 8 has 3 licenses. Okay, so we're talking about server. That's 3. Version.
We have
Which is 2008.
different sites which are done there. So critical
Even larger.
Okay,
so difference
we have some parts like that, that is not a critical, so that we can
Like shop and shop, right? No, shop and store. Store.
On the store,
No,
they
so-
don't have standard ones.
Stereo.
The standard ones have to go to restaurant. They have no
Availability.
but they can like provide more clustering. Probably no clustering for phones at the bank.
server on the
And they have to provide clustering.
Everyone, quick.
Availability. But they don't have the availability. And it's like cover, like we have connected like 400
Seven of those ones.
Standard.
it is on a standalone,
The one
that
that
is not a
I'll give you an example. Like our in one
those are not critical.
Those are not critical.
it is like features and there is a restriction on
Now the standard supports the critical element. No, standard actually supports non-critical. Enterprise supports critical because of high availability.
is the license of
These like software houses, like software houses.
You just takes
Right.
yeah, 3 nodes, more secure, more access, and the higher
Quick question.
Yes.
Let's say, TV has, they should have, they would have more than one enterprise.
So TD
This is why we have
both actually.
each server, it has to have.
So if we have one of them, you're not worried about it. One goes down, the other one goes
Yes.
One certain time saturation I believe data centers installed so many companies
My solution to you is you might just but what you learn from 6 months is like you put it in something better. So even though you have it, we get it to VMware, VMware, we get it to Citrix, we get it to Citrix. So one way is that how is this how much should we should go there? Let's say if I want to put 100% to it, I'm sure if I want to
yeah and then the policy that it's of IT also
Okay, guys, that's moving forward. Moving forward. So, any questions? Any questions? Okay, no question. It's very simple, but we need to remember that for long period of time, because licensing is used in all of the environments. So now we know licenses. Yes.
So the TD will be buying 2 licensing, right? Standard and the enterprise, because they want to do critical and non-critical.
Depends on how many servers do they have.
Oh, I see.
So in this case, for example, if this is TD and they have 10 servers, they would have to buy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 enterprise licenses, and they need to buy 1, 2, 3, 4 of the other licenses.
Non-critical.
Now, guys, just one more point on this. Since TD is huge, This is for maybe, let's say, a medium-sized organization. Let's say this is for CANEPS. CANEPS is a small organization, maybe medium-sized organization. They would go for this type of calculation. But guys, in large environments where they have to buy thousands and thousands of licenses, and then they cannot track which licenses, because these licenses are yearly. These are yearly. So if I'm buying license in January, next January that license will be expired. But what if I'm buying 10 licenses every month? How can I track down which licenses are expiring when? So guys, in order to make it simpler, what they do is TD companies like TD and large organizations, they buy volume license from Microsoft. They buy something called volume license from Microsoft. So volume license is a bulk license from Microsoft. So they are saying, you know what, we are giving you this amount for a year, for a year, and for this huge year, they can use unlimited licenses. They can use unlimited number of standards, they can use unlimited number of enterprise and all that. So they can buy volume license. Now volume license is used by bigger organizations where they can give them a lump sum, one big price for licenses, and they can keep on using licenses. Other than volume licenses, there is a classic licenses. So for organizations like this, Microsoft has designed these different licensing packages. So classic license, volume license, these are packages. So most of the time in TD, in Rogers, and Dell, they buy volume license. Volume license means, and in volume license, they don't have to use different keys for each. Guys, in this case, when Canucks bought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 licenses, they would get 5 enterprise keys, 5 different keys. And one key, if it is used here, it cannot be used on the other ones. Whereas in volume license, it is just one key. Just one key will be used on all machines. There will be a volume key for them.
It's like we have an apparent sometimes series, they take all you install 5 machines, same keys that you can.
With the same key. So yes, those are what. So guys, we need to remember. So either you can buy licenses individually, or they can buy bulk licenses, buying a volume license, and then that volume license is used everywhere. Guys, based on this discussion, let's move on to Active Directory. In Active Directory, what do we have is, in Active Directory, let me go back here.
We have enterprise.
Yes.
Can we install in standard too, Active Directory?
Yes, Active Directory.
Yeah.
So the question is, can we install Active Directory in standard version? Yes. Active Directory and all roles can be installed on standard and enterprise. It's just a matter of how flexible those roles are. So later on, we're going to go into those details. But yes, Active Directory can be installed on standard for sure. Active Directory can be installed on both. So guys, if we go through this here. So here we started with understanding Server 2008. In Server 2008, we have all installed Server 2008. It is nothing different than a Windows 7. Just like Windows 7, you have a Start button. Then you click on a Start button. Then you can go into Control Panel and so on. You move on. And then here, it shows you. This is the screen where you start configuration. Remember this screen?
Yes.
So this is the screen that is given to us when the first time server starts. And this screen is known as initial configuration task. Initial configuration tasks. So these are initial configuration tasks. Remember from here, that as you can see, you have task number 1, then 2, then 3. This is Microsoft helping us how to set up this server. So in task 1, you should activate your Windows, then you should set up the time, then you should provide IP address, then after that you should change your name. These are the same standard procedure that we should do when we create these machines. At the same time, once this is all done, your next task is to update the server. So in real environment, we would go update the server. Here we don't, but in our trainings, we will see how to update the server. Now, we are familiar with this part. At the same time, we are also familiar with this as we added a role from here. So you have an add role. Now, my question to you is, if this screen doesn't appear on your window, how would you get it back?
OBE.
OBE.
No, OOB. OOBE.
OOBE. OOBE. OOBE, guys. Huh?
No, what he said is don't share the system.
Okay. Yeah, that was so OOBE. Guys, OOBE to get the screen back. Now, so this screen, what is this screen? Hasib, what is this screen for? Yes?
The server manager.
This is a server manager. What is server manager used for?
For the same task, maybe more
For the
configure the system.
for configuring the same task. What is the importance of server manager in system admin's life?
Adding roles.
Adding roles, adding features, and as you can see, you can add roles, features, diagnostics, configuration, storage. So what do we know about about server manager? What is server manager? Why should we use it? Why should we use it instead of OOBE? Because we discussed, yes,
To add the roles, remove the roles.
add role,
features.
remove role, but the importance we discussed was this, that most of our time as being a system admin, we should be working in this. We will be working on this. All tasks are tied to server manager. When we need to add roles, we do it from server manager. When we need to remove role, we do it from server manager. When we add feature, we do it from server manager. When you add accounts, right here. So when you need to see diagnostic, configuration, storage, and we'll be mastering this inshallah in near future. Server manager. Server manager is one thing that we need to do.
You have
Now-
to be master on it.
Hmm?
You have to be like more like master on it so we can.
So
actually-
we'll do it one by one.
Okay.
In server manager, you have roles,
Yeah.
you have features. So what is the definition of roles? Can you please read the first paragraph, please?
Roles enables the administrator to install, remove, and manage roles from the server. Contained within roles is a child node. For each role, this is turned as a child list to the MMC's name and used to manage the role function.
Used to manage the functionality. Thank you. So guys, roles. How can we relate roles to a real life? We discussed with an example. Role with a real role in a server with a real life example. One person is acting like
A manager.
a manager in one organization
Supervisor.
and janitor in another organization. No, it's not possible. A manager is manager everywhere. No, it might not be
No,
possible.
yeah.
So guys, yes, a one person can wear different type of hats. Right? At home, he is a family person. In office, he is a different person. So the same thing, guys. When the first time server is installed, it's just a standard server. Then in order to make this server do something special, we would add roles.
Roles in it.
So roles are there, about 15 or 16 different roles. The one role that we should all know is
Active Directory.
Active Directory. What is the role name, Umar? Active Directory Domain Services. Active Directory?
Domain
I
service.
can't hear everyone.
Active Directory Domain
Services. Umar, you're still just. It is Active Directory Domain Services. I know everybody's tired, guys. We need to have that high energy levels in class so that we can understand each and everything. So yes, the first role that we went through is Active Directory
Domain
Services.
Services.
Active Directory Domain. Guys, features are additional options within roles. Features are additional options within roles. Features are additional options within roles.
So maybe if someone is a manager, so manager job titles
24, right? Okay. Yes.
means like features are like if someone is managing as a manager. So what are the job descriptions as a feature? Or?
Yes, exactly. When you add a role can have different features inside. So features are tied to roles. If you are not installing a particular role, you might not need extra features. So features are part of the roles. When you have roles, then they come with features. So later on, diagnostics will show you the problem. If you have issues within the server, we can use diagnostics to find those issues. Most of the time useless. If you don't know how to use these diagnostic tools, we'll use them. Configuration, in this we can configure. So a consolidated interface for Snap is used to granular control for servers, which consist of task configuration, firewall, services, Windows management instrumentation, WMI control, and the last one is to manage disk. We're gonna go through all this. So this is how your server manager would look like. Now roles are these. So guys, let's take a 10 minutes quick break here. Right after the break, we'll continue and start understanding more. At the same time, guys, make sure the lab that is given to you, it is also working. At least the lab number 1. At least lab number 1 should be working.
I'm not able to change.
It's very
Other things.
Was it all started when you logged in or you started from?
I started.
Because there are 4 machines working, that's why the issue is. Once it comes back, just make sure all are stopped. Do you know how to stop them? Just click the machine and stop them, right? So once it comes back, I'll show you.
Yes.
Yes.
In Google question.
Yes.
No. After the class, I think I'm back.
Okay. Excellent. Okay, guys, Active Directory. Now, Active Directory, as we know of, Active Directory is installed on a server. Understanding Active Directory is very important. Why? Because Rogers, Dell, Bell, HP, all these organizations must have Active Directory. They all have Active Directory. Whenever we are Citrix admin, VMware admin, or any type of these advanced technologies admins, we might be asked to troubleshoot on Microsoft level, or sometimes we do have to go to a basic level as well. So, guys, understanding Active Directory, we had a lot of discussions in Active Directory. Now we know of Active Directory is that security person. Active Directory is that security person that not only authenticates who can use what in your organization, it can also manage resources as well. So remember, think of Active Directory as this person. This guy. So nobody can get past this person without showing your ID. Now showing your ID. So this guy goes with ID. Showing with this ID, this process is known as authentication. Remember, even in real life, you would show your ID and this guy would say, oh, okay, this is you, and you can go, and this is called authentication. Guys, in order to simulate this in the real environment, same thing. How do you do it? All you need to do is install a Windows 7 machine, and here you install a Server 2008 R2. If I need high availability, what type of version should I go for? If I need high availability,
Enterprise version.
I need to go with enterprise version. AC is off, just fan is on. It's not heat, no cold. So here you have 2008 R2, 2008 R2 on this, and then in order to install Active Directory, Umar, what do I have to do? I have to add a role, and that role is known as ADDS.
Yes.
Guys, as soon as ADDS role is installed, now here we need to remember, now we know the licensing options. It is standard enterprise data center, small business, medium to large size and large size, standard $499, enterprise $999, and then you have critical and non-critical application. For critical, online website is critical because it immediately affects your revenue. And here, print server doesn't affect you immediately, but it has to be fixed. I mean, non-critical doesn't mean it doesn't have to be fixed. It is there for a reason. So it must be fixed, but it is not directly affecting your dollar amount. For that reason, it is non-critical. On non-critical, I would go with standard. On critical, I would go with enterprise. Now, based on this, when you have a server, so this is my physical server, you just bought a physical server. And our favorite server is IBM
3650 M5.
When you have a physical server, when you have what? I can't hear everyone.
Physical server.
Guys, please give me level 10. Level 10 with energy. So, what is this?
Physical server.
Physical server. Only Umar. Umar, you have to give me level 10.
Physical server.
No, Umar. More. Try more. Just one more time. And it is, so it is physical server, it is still pressed somewhere. So next time, Omar, please try your level best. It is like when you're angry and you're speaking, so that I need that already. So guys, physical server, it is very important, guys. It is very important to shake our brains, because the more it is shaken, you will remember, you will register, it will work more actively. So here, physical server. Now, when you have a physical server, so this is my physical server, it must need an operating system. It must need what?
Operating system.
It must need an operating system. And this last line is not even giving me level 10. So it is giving, it has to have operating system. Guys, when it comes to operating system, when you go for 2008 R2, how many choices do you have? Three choices. Number one,
Standard.
standard.
Enterprise.
And data center.
Less is right.
Abid, you're not feeling well. This fan is bothering you. Something else. Okay. So standard, enterprise, data center. Standard, enterprise, data center. Standard, guys, I went with enterprise on this one. So, as soon as you install server 20, as soon as you install this server, guys, it becomes a standalone machine. It automatically, the very first stage of this server, it becomes a standalone machine. It becomes a standalone machine. Now, when a server does not have any role, it is known as a standalone machine. So this is what my point is. When a server is installed fresh and it does not have any special role, it is a standalone machine. But right after that, the second stage of the same server is when it is joined to Active Directory. When you join it to Active Directory, it becomes a member server. So it is a standalone server right here. Then it becomes a member server. What is a member server? A member server is a server that is joined to Active Directory. It is a server that is joined to AD. It is joined to AD. A member server is a server that is joined to AD. But when a server has some special role on it, then it becomes that special server. So third one is that it could be the same server, could be actually there is no one name for the third type, but I would say it is server with a role. Server with a role. So server with a role. So when the server is newly born, it is a standalone machine. When it is joined to Active Directory, it becomes a member server. So if somebody in the environment tells you, oh, you know what, go to that server, it is a member server. It is simply means that it has operating system and it is joined to Active Directory. It just means this. But it does not have its own Active Directory. The server that has a special role on it is the third server with a special role. So in this case, for example, if you have ADDS role on it, if you have ADDS role installed, then it is called a domain controller. Domain controller. So this is a role.
But in member server, the Active Directory is a role, right?
Active Directory is a role.
Then why we are just using the third category as a
Yes,
role? Then?
because not necessarily all member servers have Active Directory. Not necessarily. For example, among all these servers, I'll install Active Directory on this one. So this becomes a DC. But this one is a standard server and it is joined to Active Directory. So this makes this machine just a member server, not Active Directory. Active Domain Controller. So first of all, let's go step by step. A server where you add Active Directory is called a DC. It's called a
Domain
DC, and DC means it's a domain controller. So in Dr. Dave's clinic, how many domains controller were there?
1, 2.
There were 2. In POC there was 1. POC there was 1. And in real implementation it has 2. It has 2 DC. Why we added the role? So second server. So let's say in CANAPS you install the first server and you do need Active Directory. The very first time when the server was born, it was what?
Standalone.
It was standalone. So I would say this was standalone. And then you installed Active Directory on this.
Called member
That
server.
is member.
No. So hold on. In order to become a member server, you have to have Active Directory in the environment. But since in this environment there is no Active Directory, you cannot make a member. You must first have Active Directory. Let's think of this in this manner. So let's say we are all servers. Now in this environment, let's start with server number 1. For example, I have installed all machines on this. So this is my standard machine. So the very first time when you install servers on all these, they all are standalone machines. Now I'm thinking, oh, you know what? This is a standalone machine. Let me make a member server. Guys, as soon as, so first of all, let's label it. So it is a standalone machine. It is a standalone machine. So this machine is a standalone machine, right? Now, this is a standalone machine. Now the second thing is, if I need to make, now the next question is, should I make it a member server or a role with or server with a special role? Guys, now in order to become a member server, there has to be Active Directory inside the environment. But since all of them are standalone, they cannot become a member.
No.
In order to become a member, you must first install Active Directory on one of them. So this is what I'm going to do. On the standalone machine, I'll add a role called ADDS. I'll add it a role. As soon as you add a role, it becomes now, it's not a standalone machine anymore. It became a domain controller. So this is the third type. So this became a DC. Now this has attained a title of DC. So now this one is a DC, right? And now I came on to the second machine. Second machine was a standalone machine. So I'll go with standalone machine. So this is a standalone machine. Now in this machine, Bilal, how many options do I have? This machine can become what? Can it? It can become a member server. Why would it become a member server? Because I do have Active Directory now. So now in all of these environments, guys, best practices have 2 domain controllers. Since I have one, I have to make another domain controller. But guys, now keep an eye on this step. Now this step is very important. Before making it a domain controller now, first I need to make a member machine. So what I do, on this machine now I'll join it to Active Directory. So my second step, join to AD. As soon as you join it to AD, what does it become?
Member.
It became a member. It became a member. And now it became a member. So this is, before installing the second DC, I'll do the same thing on all these machines. Standalone became member, join to Active Directory. Join to Active Directory, join to Active Directory, join to Active Directory. All of machines are now joined to Active Directory. Now, how many members do I have now? I have one DC and all of these are members. Now comes the time where you need a second DC. So I would select this one and all I need to do is add a ADDS role. Exactly. So it was a member, now I added a role. As soon as you add a role, it became what? Domain controller. Very good. It's that simple. So now you have 2 domain controller and all are members.
And you can extend more, right?
We can have as many as we want.
Domain, like
As many as we want. So this is called one domain with 2 domain controllers. One domain with 2 domain controllers. They're not separate Active Directory. This is one Active Directory with 2 domain controllers. Why? Because we need one for the backup. If one goes down, second one will automatically take over. If you don't have second, it's not a mandatory requirement. You can live with one. But then if one goes down, how can you need to wait to restore this machine, and then once it is restored, then everybody can log in. So this is how we need to remember, yes.
Okay, so the first one you had Active Directory installed, right? So, but the role was not assigned. It was a role, right? Active Directory is a role.
Active Directory is a role, yes.
So the role, if it's okay, so for the second one, if Active Directory is like joined, or all these ones are joined to the first one.
Yes.
So don't they have the roles?
No, they're not having a. So there is a difference in joining to AD, or installing AD. So 2 different things. Installing AD. So these are 2 different. When you're joining a machine, all you need to do, go into the computer properties on this machine and then change the workgroup to domain. Remember?
Yeah.
You can just change the workgroup to domain, it becomes a member server.
Right.
But installing Active Directory is you add a role called ADDS, and then it becomes the domain controller.
Okay, and as soon as if we are adding roles on these ones, so they all can
They
become.
will all be domain controller. Now, guys, the big question is, what is the best practice about how many domain controllers you should have in the environment? So 2 is minimum. 2 is minimum. Then for all of the remote sites, for example, let's say Rogers has, I think, 40, 50, 52 sites. In all of these sites, they should have their own domain controllers. They should have their own domain controller. Now, let's think of this for a second. So these are 2 security guys. These are 2 security guys. So which means everybody who is logging into the network, they have to get past this person. So this is a security guard standing here. Whoever needs to log into all these machines, they would first come here, use their username and password, then they'll be logging into all these machines. Now guys, think of this. For example, if this is my Toronto site and this one is my Montreal site. This is my Toronto site and this one is Montreal site. In Montreal site, if you have these 2 domain controller and all of the people in Montreal, they still have to come to this guy. Do you think it will be slow authentication for them or fast?
Yes, slow.
It will be slow because they'll be all coming from over the internet and they'll be trying to log on to this one. So instead of doing this, what we do is for Montreal site, we'll promote one of the servers to become a domain controller. So this is how you start adding more domain controllers. So for Montreal, you'll have 1 domain controller. For Windsor, you have another domain controller. For another city, you have another domain controller.
Both domain controllers replicate each other.
Yes, that's another quality of a domain controller. As soon as you have more domain controllers, they replicate all their information with each other. So they are 101% having exactly the same database. So whatever information you have here, it is in minutes, it is replicated on this one. Whatever you have it here, it is in minutes is replicated to Montreal and so on and all of them. So guys, domain controllers have that quality of replicating all the data everywhere.
So in that case, we don't need to like another backup.
Yes, in that case, for Montreal, you just need 1. In
Because the
Montreal, you
backup will
just
be in Toronto too, right?
sorry.
The backup.
Because the backup is sitting in Toronto, yes. So just in the main site you have to have at least 2. Then on each side you have to have 1. But there's just one more point on this. I'll come back to your question. Just one more point, guys. Adding domain controllers gives us added administration. Gives us more work. So for that reason, in IT, the one thing that we follow is called keep it simple. Keep it very simple. So installing domain controller is easy, but as soon as you start installing more and more, then I have to worry about their backups, their restores, their data, their servers, their hardware and everything. So we would only add more and more domain controller only if it is absolutely required. If it is not required, I can work without an additional domain controller, I would go for it. So that's the thing. Yes, adding but Montreal is must. Because Montreal is a different site, we don't want those people to wait for the login to log into this site. Yes.
If you add an extra ADDS, you will have a different IP.
You will have a different IP as well. Yes.
So in order for a client to join into that domain, it basically goes with whatever is available for it to go into that
yes.
IP address, or?
It's a very good question, guys. A question is that if these are my domain controllers, my Toronto user will automatically log in here, right? So how would Montreal user would know not to log into these, but just to Montreal? That's your question, right? Either to join them or to log in. How would these guys automatically know that they should use this DC and not these 2 DCs? Guys, this is automatically done by Active Directory. As soon as I install a domain controller inside Montreal, it will automatically instruct all clients to use this DC. So this is automatically done. This is on. We don't do it. It is automatically done. And this is a one major difference between 2003 Active Directory and 2008. In 2003, we had to do it manually. And since we had to do it manually, And since humans makes mistakes, and mistakes happens, so there used to be many mistakes in large environments. Large environments as having 52 domain controller or maybe 70 domain controller. So I did all changes on 50 domain controller, but I forgot to make the change on 5 domain controller. And remaining 5, I made some typos. Because of those typos, now those domain controllers are not replicating with them. Since they're not up to date, people are not able to log in. So starting 2008 R2, this replication responsibility is all on domain controllers now. Our job is just to install domain controller, and I installed a domain controller here. They will automatically replicate with each other. If that answers your question? Okay, excellent. So guys, moving forward, so server, as soon as it installed for the first time, it becomes what? Standalone. And then second, it can become a member. It will be a member only if Active Directory is in the environment. If there is no Active Directory, Umar, can it become a member?
No.
No, it cannot. It cannot. So what can it become?
Standalone.
Standalone or a server with a role. So if this is a standalone, I can add Active Directory role and it becomes Active Directory, right? So it becomes Active Directory. Guys, I know that these concepts are a bit difficult to remember, but I just want to give you an overall picture. Once we start with our first training, what is our first training, guys? Our first training is 70-410, which is installing, configuring a 2012 server in an enterprise environment. I'll give you the link. You all need to buy a book as well. I think this is maybe $49-50 book. You can get an online version as well if you want, and we'll be following that book
Online
from
version,
start to end. Sorry.
You can print it from Workplace, 500 pages.
You can print it from Workplace, 500 pages, and the next day you start looking for a new job. So yes, we need a book. Now, while going through the book, guys, I'll be covering most of the material, but we'll be spending more time on chapters that are absolutely required in the market. We'll be doing those stuff again and again so that it becomes on our fingertips. Now, so here our training starts here. So guys, here, when a server is born, it is a standalone machine. It is a standalone machine, and then it can become a member or it can become a special server with a role. Now, if you add a ADDS role, it becomes domain controller. And if you add a DHCP role, then it becomes a DHCP server. If you install DNS role, it becomes a DNS server. So whatever the role name is, that the server is. So this is how we know these servers. This is how we know the server. As soon as you start installing these roles on and on, they become their identity. So it is also said that servers are known by their role they have. The servers are known by their role they have. For example, servers are known by their role they have. So under this topic, you can say server, whenever the server is installed, it becomes a standalone machine, and then it becomes a member server, and then you can install a role and it becomes a role with a special server. Now in this environment, what we can do is, this is our first domain controller, and since the best practice is having 2, so we're going to install again a domain controller on this, and so now we have how many DCs in this environment? 2. Now since I needed a DHCP as well, so I installed a DHCP role on this one. So in this environment, now I have 1 DC and 2 domain controller, and these are all member servers. These are all. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 members, 2 DCs, and 1 DHCP. This is how we know that servers are known by the role they have.
So the third one will be DC as well, right?
Third one is not a DC, third one is just a DHCP. Because it has only one role, that role is known as DHCP. So in this, we are not installing ADDS role. I'll come back to your question.
Sorry, I'm not sure.
So here, how many roles are there on 2008 server?
There-
There are about 15, 16 roles. Guys, now I'll hold your question for a second. Guys, log into your first server, please. So our rule in class is that as soon as we are here, start your servers. Start your server. Don't wait. The very first thing, as soon as you are in class, start your machines. So here, I'm not following the rules, and my name goes onto the board. Yay! No, your name will go onto the board. So I'm starting my server. I'm starting my server. What we need to go to is to see how many roles are there. So do we understand there are roles on servers?
Yes.
Right? 15, 16 roles. If you install ADDS role, it becomes what? A domain controller. So instead of ADDS, if I install just DHCP role, which assigns automatic IP address, now that server will be known as just DHCP server.
But we will be just adding the role, not the AD.
Not AD. So we won't be adding ADDS role. We would be adding just DHCP role.
Yes.
You're not able to log into your servers. So okay. So for this one, there is no password for this. You will switch user. Go here. Go HLS / administrator. So type administrator. No, it will be there as soon as you keep on adding. It's a P capital SFWAR. Now, in order to get rid of this, please guys, what you do is size and change it. Select that. So now it gives you a full screen. All three of them. Now it is set for all of them.
So then that has to have a physical article, right? We make it because it's on the give us. Let's say you server, right? They go to the client. To the data manager. So we have to have 2008 two right? So we have that case actually we have the second one to so we have
ये तो बना हुआ था हमारी R2 की थी ना R2 से हमने चला हमारा
But you know what, on these machines, all other students in different classes, they work on them. So they delete again, they create. You can delete these machines and maybe start there. But by the end of the class, you'll be only able to start there.
You sure?
But now look at the screen. You try it. It's not working. So maybe we stop this and see what happens.
Because we adding more, so it becomes 80.
Going on. So guys, servers, roles. Yes.
Why I'm confused because every time we add in the role, it becomes 80. Is that right?
No.
Okay.
Every time when you add a ADDS role, then it becomes domain controller. Okay. So let me show it to you here. So guys, if we are on a server and we go to add roles, as soon as you go to add role, so these are all of the roles that exist. These are all of the roles. So I have all these roles here.
Okay.
So these are 16, 15 roles. On this server, there is already ADDS role automatically, not automatically, we installed it last time. So this is our domain controller, and it is also a DNS server. So on this server, there are 2 roles installed on them. So the more roles you install, this is how we know the server is. So in these environments, sometimes when you're there, for example, as you can see, it can become a fax server. If I add this role, it will act like a fax server. So all these things. Yes, yes, yes.
What is DNS?
DNS? Yes, I'm going to go through DNS. DNS is a name revolution server, and we're going to go through this.
You know how in the TV we have several critical and non-critical?
Yes.
So let's say the second one we wanted to make an ADDC.
ADDC?
So this server is supposed to also have a Windows 8 R2 as well, right?
Yes, they all have Windows 8 R2. Yes.
Otherwise they can't. I mean, it has this Windows 7, it will be client server.
Oh yes, on a client there are no roles. On clients there are no
So
roles.
whenever for the server, we should have the R2 Windows
Yes,
8.
yes.
So we can select out of.
No. We only select the roles that we need in the environment. So for example, on this server we only have ADDS. On this server we only have DHCP. Okay? Yes.
Just now.
What? DHCP? DHCP stands for Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, but later on we're going to go into that. So it is Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. Dynamic Host Configuration, if you need to know. Protocol. Okay, so guys here, we have a server. We have a 2008 server, R2. Within the server, we added a role called ADDS role, and it became a domain controller. Now, since it becomes a domain controller, guys, it has a database inside. It is a domain controller. It has a database. Now, it has a Active Directory comes with a database. Guys, this sign, a bucket type sign, is always in technical diagram. This is always refers to as a DB. It's a database. So whenever Active Directory is installed, it creates its own DB. DB stands for a database.
Base.
It is a database. What is a database? What is a database, guys? Database, a very simplest definition would be a list of employees, list of users, list of objects, an organized unit, an organized list. So a database. So first of all, now before moving forward, let me quickly review. So we are using Active Directory because we need to control resources in this environment. So we need to control resources in this environment. I need to control printers. I need to control SAS so that he cannot print 70 times.
The book that you told.
But my system allows over there at one.
It allows.
We need to change
that
the
I
role.
have access, right?
So guys, everybody send your books to him. Now you know who can print in their workplace.
And color printer.
And color printers. You should have told me earlier.
I was
actually
actually
print something.
so he won.
We have color printers.
Okay. So now you know who can act as a print servers here. So guys, now since we know Active Directory is used for authentication, Active Directory sits in the middle. All users who are logging in, they will log into Active Directory with username and password. If their username and password are correct, then they'll be given access to the environment. Thinking of this Active Directory, guys, so far what we know about Active Directory is this. Active Directory is locked into 3 types of security walls, and those are number one, forest.
Tree.
We already know tree and domain, and inside sits a domain controller. Now these forest, tree, domain are security walls. Now guys, we need to go inside Active Directory. What is actually inside a domain controller? Outside we already know forest, tree, domain, and DC, and inside DC there is a database. So it starts with this. So when you install a role, it creates a database, and that database is known as NTDS. The database name is ntds.dit. This is the name of the file that has the database, ntds.dit. So now ntds.dit. We don't need to remember the full form of these, but if you need to know, it is New Technology Directory Services. It is just New Technology Directory Services. No need to remember this, but for now we need to remember the database is called ntds.dit. What is inside the database, guys? Remember, inside the database you have all users' information. So inside database, I'm going to create users. So inside the database, I I have a user.
So it means objects are inside the database?
Exactly. All objects sits inside the database. All groups exist inside the database. All computers exist inside the database. So inside the database, think of this database is exactly like this sheet, guys, the one that you signed. This is also called a directory service. This is also known as a directory because it has a list. Now, if I save this inside a computer, this will be known as a database. Now, this sheet is known as FT005. The name of this sheet is FT005. Just like other track FT002, 003, 004, this is FT005. The name of this database is ntds.net. Now think of this database nothing but a list like this in which we create users, their passwords so that they can log in. Now, so the database is known as ntds.net. Secondly, function of this database is authentication. Function of this database is authentication. So I can say the database name is, this is name, DB name is this, and function of this database is authentication. Since it is Active Directory, the main function of this database is authentication, so the function of the database is authentication. So when you install Active Directory, it has Active Directory, it creates a database inside this computer, and this database is known as ntds.get, and the function is called authentication. Main purpose of this database is authentication. Exactly the main purpose of the security guards standing outside banks, outside some buildings, some important buildings. Main purpose of that security guard is to verify your identity. Active Directory does that identity, but Active Directory needs to know who needs to be identified. So before they are being identified or authenticated, you have to create their usernames and passwords, right? So the database name is ntds.net. Main function is authentication. But guys, now inside you have all this information. Inside you have objects, and objects have attributes. So inside the database, what will be the content of the database? So database, I would say DB content. What is inside the database? So first of all, we know the name of the database, and then secondly, we know the function of a database. It is authentication. Going back to our example sheet here. So here, it is the name of the sheet is FT005, and the function of this is to know your attendance, right? Function is attendance. But what is inside it? Inside, I have users with student IDs, names, signature, their timing, and time out. So this is exactly the same thing we have in this. So here we have some objects that are known as domain. Domain is it starts with, everything starts with a domain. Inside a domain you have OUs, and then inside OUs you have users. So let me explain that now. So number one, remember when we installed Active Directory, it asks us for what is your domain name. So what was our domain name? HLS.local. HLS.local. And what is the domain name in our assignment lab here? It is scanf.com. Okay, it is scanf.com. Very good. Okay, canvas.com. It can be com, it can be net, it can be edu, it can be local, but here in this case, canvas.com. So first of all, guys, when you install Active Directory, it creates a database and there is a domain name. So in our case, domain name, let's go with Dr. Dave's clinic. It was hls.local. And guys, inside the domain, there are some OUs inside. Now, OU stands for organizational unit.
LOU or inside?
So this is actually inside the domain. This is just a second layer inside. So inside the domain there are OUs. OUs stand for organizational unit. OU stands for organizational unit. OU stands for organizational unit. If this fan is bothering someone, let me know so we can. Okay. So OU stands for organizational unit. Organizational unit, and then inside organizational unit you have users inside. So let's say in Dr. Dave's clinic we created a user called
Receptionist.
let's call Dr. Dave. So first user we will create is called Dr. Dave. So Dr. Dave, and then Dr. Dave, as soon as you create the user, so you're creating an object here. You're creating an object. So Dr. Dave has some properties. So Dr. Dave has what? Dr. Dave has, if you double click on Dr. Dave, it should give you his first name, first name, it has last name, and then it has address, and then it has telephone number and so on. So this is user number 1. And as soon as you start creating more users, so here, if you go, I would create another user. So who's the second user?
Brittany. Receptionist.
Give me a simpler name. Or spell it for me.
Lisa.
Lisa. Lisa, a second user. A second user. So yes, guys, it depends. So if we are creating an Active Directory, then we'll be creating all these users. And then Lisa has attributes as well, which is number 1, first name, last name, address, and so on. So guys, in this example, I'm showing you when you install Active Directory, in Active Directory, it creates a database, and that database is known as ntds.dat. So what is it?
So the name of the database.
Name of the database is ntds.dat. If I ever need to move this complete database from one server to another, I need to locate where is my ntds.dat. I would copy it, move it somewhere else. If this ntds.dat is deleted, your Active Directory is gone. Because this is where your Active Directory is sitting actually, and we'll see where it is in the computer. So the name of the database is
ntds.dat.
It is ntds.dat, and the last line is still not responding. Please, guys. So the name of the database is
ntds.dat.
ntds.dat. I'm putting diagrams over there, and you're getting distracted.
Well, no, you're making them, right? Either on my laptop or...
Oh, okay. But when I ask you to repeat something, please repeat after me.
I can say ntds.dt is a files of a database.
DIT.
Yeah. Is it a file?
It's a file. It's a
File
file.
name.
Yes, it's a file name. So if somebody only
Active Directory.
computers that have Active Directory. Only computers that have. So standalone server, you won't find this file. In standalone machine, you won't find this file. So guys, we have ntds.dat. What is the function of Active Directory? Authentication. It authenticates. How does it authenticate? Because we create all these users inside. Now it has a domain. It has OUs, and OUs, inside OUs you have users inside. Now let's see the purpose of OUs. What is the purpose of OUs? Now, purpose of OU is this. Now, here, I have a closet at home. Within the closet, if you don't have cabinets inside, then nothing will be organized, right? You will throw in everything. Let's say you have clothes, you have trophies, whatever trophies you have. You have
Picture frames.
Yes, shoes and
Picture frames.
Brittany, that I don't know how to spell Brittany.
Britney.
Like that.
Yeah.
Oh, Britney cannot be in a closet.
Yeah.
That would be disastrous. Bad joke. This is a bad joke. Guys, so we're trying to understand what is OU. Why OU in Active Directory? Active Directory is like a closet. So in closet, if you put everything without cabinets, what happens is that it is not organized. So what you can do is you can go to IKEA and buy a better closet with already cabinets made inside.
Like,
So here you can have
like sections.
section shoes. You have shoes here. Here you have what you call your computer equipment.
How are you gonna fit Britney?
And actually that involves engineering. You have to have that engineering inside. Where people who need to bring Britney here, they can. But then it's a bad joke. So guys here, so shoes, computers, and clothes. So guys, now do you see a difference? What is the difference between the two?
Yeah.
Organization and better management. This is organized. This is organized, and this is not organized. So guys, this is why they are called organizational units. Organizational units. So this is organizational units. So organizational units are there so that we can separate different type of users and different type of OUs. Example is that if I have a domain called, let's say, Canaps. If I have a domain called Canaps, what I can do is I can place all Toronto users inside Toronto and all Montreal users inside Montreal.
Right.
Montreal. Now this is called organization. This is called organization. If you don't know, OUs are not there by default. There are some default OUs, but not all OUs. So this is what happens. So in Canaps, it can be like this as well. Canaps.local, and inside you have just users OU, and in users you have all users. You have users from Toronto. So I have user 1, user 2. This is user 1, user 2, user 3, user 4, user 5, and this user is from Montreal, this user is from Toronto, this user is from Montreal, this is from Toronto. As you can see, they're all sitting in one place. But the disadvantage is that now I cannot apply specific security policies to separate users. Because security
categorize them, right? Technically.
So it is categorizing them or organizing them. For example, if I need to have a separate security policy saying that all these users can use internet, can have unlimited access to internet.
Mm-hmm.
So now there can be only one policy, and the same policy will be applied to all of them. Instead, if I go with this design, in this design I can say all Toronto users have unlimited access and Montreal users have limited access. So guys, this is why we have OUs, and this is why they are known as organizational units. Organizational units, organizational for better organizations. Just think of a closet with organized cabinets inside. So this is why OUs are there. Not necessarily that you have to make OUs, but we make OUs for better organized what type of users are in your Active Directory. So for that, now this is one example. A second example could be this. You have just one site. Let's say I have only one office in Toronto, but I have different type of users. I have managers that I need to give more privilege to, and then I have call center users. I have call center users that I need to give them limited access so that they can give their full attention to the calls that they are getting, so that they can work more. So here you have restricted access for them, and managers have full access. So in managers OU, I would place only managers. So let's say this is manager 1, this is manager 2, and here I would say this is call center user 1, call center user 2, and call center user 3, and I would say no internet for them. Why? Because if you give them internet, then they would stop receiving their calls. And the calls is the reason why they are there in the first place. So guys, this is why we have OUs in the organization. Having OUs gives you better organization, number one. Better what? Better organization of resources. Number two, I can apply different type of security policies on different type of users. As opposed to having all users in one OU. If they're all in one OU, then I cannot separate them. It will be very difficult to separate them. Maybe in a small environment where you have 5 or 10 users, it might be okay, you don't need OU. But guys, in an environment of Rogers where they have 60,000 users all over their sites, or Bell having 100,000 objects, 100,000 more. So in Bell, there are different level of OUs and different cities, different people, so that you can apply different policy. So guys, OU stands for what?
Organizational unit.
Organizational unit. With the word organizational unit, always remember organization. And whenever the word organization, remember the example of having a closet. Yes.
So basically the OUs gives you the authorization to the users, right?
Yes.
Of the resource.
Actually, not OUs. OUs are just for organization. Then we apply policies on them.
On the resources.
On the user through OU. So it's like this. So for example, if I have all these users from Toronto and I need to apply one policy on them, I'm saying that these all guys, they cannot use internet after 5 p.m. right? So I have two ways. One way is that I can go individually on each user and do and apply the policy. Or the other way is I can create a OU, move them all under one OU and apply the policy directly on OU. This is the advantage of OU. Exactly in the same manner, like people with PR cards are separated, people with passport separated. It happens everywhere, right? In all of them. So OUs are there for better organization, better management of objects. So you have domain. Domain has OUs, and OUs have users, which is user object, and users have attributes. All users, computers have attributes. Carl, is it a break time? Is it? Okay, let's take a 10 minutes break.
You didn't send the last time the video.
As going back to Active Directory, we were understanding Active Directory, and we understood that as soon as how a server becomes an Active Directory server.
When the server has any role.
When you add a role called ADDS, it becomes a domain controller. As soon as it becomes a domain controller, the very first thing is created in your machine is called NTDS database. It's a database, and it is known as NTDS. And the function of this database is authentication. Authentication, Active Directory does authentication. So this is authentication, and inside Active Directory, now you have a domain. Inside domain you have OUs, inside OUs you have users. And OUs are for better organization, in which you can fit
All the
objects so that they are properly organized and we can apply special security policies on them.
Right.
So guys, here. Okay, let me, because I have to remove this, I'll quickly take a snap and put it on WhatsApp so that
Thank you.
it will be part of your notes.
Domain controller, no, NTDS है, and functions authentication. I think I'm looking at function.
We'll do something.
Okay. An object sits in it, and object is OU.
So when we have to buy the book?
I'll give you the book name during this week, and not next Monday, next to next Monday, we need to buy that book.
We can print it too online.
You can print it as well if you want.
Same book, right?
What are we doing for the book? Why do we need a book? For the book, from the book we'll be doing all labs. So we need to do book labs, we need to do class labs, and we'll be doing custom lab at the end. So this is how we can have everything on our fingertip. So book lab is all step by step. So we'll be doing all step by step. Other than that, we'll be adding some shortcuts in class labs, and then at the end we'll do a custom lab.
Perfect.
Guys, start your machine and make sure your client is able to log into DC. Your client is able to log into DC. Look at your left and right and make sure that people sitting on your table are all able to log into a DC. So work in groups, sharing is caring.
Okay, I'm not able to pay right now with Windows 2008 R2 and 2009. What should I do? I will disable the
Did you disable the firewall? You haven't changed the name. So where is the document? This document. Now, where does it start from? Start from right here, right? Have you followed this to create this?
No, whatever I do right.
Okay. So next time you need to 100% follow this. So first of all, because we are still going baby steps here, we need to understand how to go about these. Okay. Yeah.
I'm gonna do on my computer.
Yeah, this one.
No. You're gonna do in your computer as well. So before leaving, I'm gonna remove this, delete all this, and we'll do it again.
Okay. So how is this delete?
So
Oh, right.
Right click and delete? No, because
no. For now, leave it here because we don't have time for reinstallation for now.
Okay.
You definitely need to rename it. You definitely need to assign IP address. You already assigned an IP address. You need to see that if this is on the same, it is NAT. What is the other machine? Go to the other machine. It is NAT as well. Go here. No. Yes, on this one, it is NAT. So networks are same. Now check both firewalls.
Both firewalls.
Yes. I think firewall is on.
Okay. Right click on click here.
Also check firewall.
I told you.
Connected.
It's a public network here. It's not firewall.
And off.
We don't have firewall. You can connect to the benefit and just go to the firewall log which is turn off with the header. Turn
सारे कंप्यूटर का विंडोज
Okay, guys, here. So, okay, I've taken a snapshot. It is copied. Okay, guys, Active Directory. Now, Active Directory has objects. Active Directory has it's called NTDS. It is authentication. Inside Active Directory, it has OUs objects, and objects have users and computers, and users and computers have attributes. Now, when it comes to this database called NTDS, guys, this NTDS is something like this. So NTDS is a huge big database. Now, this can be a huge big database or it can be a very small database depending on what type of company it is in. For example, in Canups, if I have only 10 employees, there will be only 10 objects inside, right? So if this database is in, let's say, in a huge company, in Rogers, it might have more than 60,000 objects inside. So it might have 60,000 objects. Now, having 60,000 objects, these 60,000 objects might be OUs, it might be users, it might be computers, it might be groups and everything. So Active Directory can be big depending on what company it is in. If it is in Rogers, Dell, or Bell, it might be huge. If it is in Canucks, it might be small. So small and medium-sized organization. Guys, this database can be big or small. In both cases, database is automatically divided into certain partitions. So in Active Directory is divided into certain partitions. In partitions. Now, since OUs also divide and organize objects, OUs stand for is what? Organizational unit. Organizational unit, right? So organizational unit. Now, overall NTDS file is also divided into certain partitions, and it is divided into 5 partitions. And those partitions are as follows. So this database is divided into 5 partitions. First partition is known as schema partition. Schema partition. Second partition is known as configuration partition. Third is known as domain naming partition. Fourth is known as
DNS, domain DNS and global catalog.
Application partition. You're right. Application, and last one is known as global catalog. Global catalog. So Active Directory is divided into 5 partitions. Active Directory is divided into 5 partitions, and these are Active Directory partitions.
What is that domain?
Domain naming partition.
Application and global catalog.
So guys, if you ever forget what partitions are there, how partitions work, you can just type Active Directory partition and it would give you many different type of images here. Now it gives you many different type of images. Let me show you a more prominent one.
1, 2, 3, 4 partitions.
Yes.
Application. The last one is not there. Global catalog.
What about this one?
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So it is 5 partitions, guys. It is 5 partitions. I'm gonna explain what are these partitions here. Yes, this one. Okay. So first one is schema partition. Then you have configuration partition. Then you have domain partition, and then you have application partition. See the 2 colors? This is one partition actually. So the same color, these are both application partition, and last one is global catalog partition. So global catalog partition and these partition. Now Active Directory, so this is an Active Directory database, guys. Active Directory database, what happened? It's okay.
Their instructor needed a workshop called it SPINA. He was like, don't ever go to an interview, and now he's going to be like SPINA, speaking out.
SCADA? Okay.
The acronym is
Oh, the acronym.
that is it.
Okay,
Not a
okay.
real acronym.
And what was the acronym?
SPINA.
SCADA.
He's like, don't go to an interview and say that, otherwise they're gonna spit you out.
So how do you spell that?
SCDA.
SCDA.
See the first abbreviations, first letter.
NCD.
Okay, I've never heard of that, but it's good to remember like that. It's good to remember like that. So guys,
Schema.
schema, configuration, domain, application, and it has to have this last one as well.
SCADAG.
Oh, SCADAG.
Yeah.
Okay, SCADAG. Okay. So guys, these are different partitions. So first of all, let's understand what this is, why this partition is. Guys, again, for the same reason, for better organization of Active Directory data. For better organization of Active Directory data, this NTDS file is divided into 5 cabinets. The same example applies here, a closet with many cabinets inside. Now, schema partition, all Active Directory, instead of all information being in one list or in one place, it is divided into according to what that information is. So first one, schema. Guys, in schema, you have definitions of all classes stored in schema. It is definition of all classes stored in schema. In other words, it is a forest-wide partition. Schema partition replicates to. Anyways, this is book talk. Let's understand here.
Yeah.
Guys, schema is in schema all definitions of classes stored in schema. So let's write it first, and then I'll explain. All definitions of classes, object classes, partitions are 5.
So all that.
Partitions are 5, and first one is schema. And schema, first point that we need to understand that definition, it has the definitions of all object classes.
Stored in schema.
Object classes stored inside AD. So it has a definition of all object classes stored in AD. Definition of all object classes stored in AD. Now, what does that mean? Guys, this means is, where is my attendance sheet? Let me bring that out. You guys here? Now let's think for a second. This is my Active Directory. Now when we created this list, before creating the list, we defined what objects will be there in this list. For example, we decided that this student ID will be of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters. So the student ID will be of 5 characters. It won't be more than 5 characters, and it will start with 10 and then the number of students. Right? This is called definition of this particular field. So if we would have said the student ID should be having 10 characters, this is how I'm defining the object. So basically in schema, it is said that how do you define user object? What would be the attributes of a user object? So this will be having. For example, it says inside schema, it is written that user objects will be having all these attributes. For example, user object has first name, it has a last name, it has an address, it has a telephone number, and so on. And let's look at this in Active Directory. Guys, if we are logged into Active Directory, I want to show you. Let's open log into the server. So I'm logging into the server here. This is my server, and my first Active Directory console that I'll be working with is Active Directory users and computer. Active Directory users and computer is my first stop managing Active Directory. What is that? Active Directory. It is first stop managing Active Directory. It is called Active Directory users and computers. So if I go into Active Directory users and computer, as soon as it opens. So right here, guys, remember that in Active Directory, the very first thing that you will see here is you have your domain. So this is my domain. And under the domain, I have these OUs. So these yellow color boxes, these are called OUs. And this is my top level Domain. So top is domain, and then this is OU. And inside the OU, if I click on this OU right here, inside the OU I have all of the objects here. So remember the thing that I made here? I had a domain and then OU, and inside users OU I have all these objects. Guys, the first time when you install Active Directory, these objects are automatically created for us. I haven't created them. You never created them, but you do see them here. So these are OUs, and this is the domain name. So whenever you need to know your domain name, what I can do is just open ADUC. Active Directory Users and Computer is also known as ADUC. ADUC. So Active Directory Users and Computer is also known as ADUC. So as being a system admin, or Active Directory admin, most of the Active Directory administration is done from this Active Directory Users and Computer. So guys, in order to open Active Directory Users and Computer, let's close this and open it again one more time. If it is open, close it and open it again one more time. So I would go start, go to administrative tools and open it. Now guys, one more time. Now I can open it right from here, GUI. This is known as, I'm opening it through using mouse. And if you ever need to open it using command, so what we can do is right click on this ADUC and go to properties, and within property you would see this file name called dsa.msc. So ADUC can be opened as dsa.msc. So if you know this command line, so you don't have to go to administrative tools and then Active Directory Users and Computer, and all you need to do is this: go to start, and right here where it says search.
How did you look for the name? I couldn't find it.
No. That will take you to the Explorer.
Sir, I'm on the file. I'm on properties.
Isn't it much easier to
Administrative tools.
This for the Windows and
Yeah, this is the location of system log. This is the location of system log. So you're saying that isn't it easy to open by mouse?
No.
Huh. Yes, exactly.
And then, what's the other word?
It is CLI. CLI, the other one.
So this name you're saying?
Type and plus, right?
Sorry, what?
If you type and it's black and white, no color.
Yes, because you're typing a command, you're not going through this. I know.
That's how I remember it.
Okay, CLI.
No, black and white. It's the keyword versus color,
Okay, sure. Yes, we'll go through this for sure.
So we always look at the last, like, target name is saying here, DSA.
Yes, that's the file name. So guys here, now in order to open ADUC, there are few ways to open it. There is through just CLI or just through a command line, and second is through GUI. GUI is when you open anything through command through a mouse. So if I go into the search and I type dsa.msc, so guys, everyone, if you just type here dsa.msc, it should automatically open Active Directory Users and Computer. So if I type this, guys, write it down somewhere, and next time I'll ask you what will be the command line for ADUC. What will be the command line for ADUC? Command line for ADUC is dsa.msc. If you type dsa.msc and you open it, it should open the same computer. Now guys, in IT, it is highly respected. It is highly respected when you do things through command line. Instead of course, everybody can go through mouse, but only experts, in order to do fast things, they would go through command lines. So yes, we need to remember both. We need to remember mouse as well. We need to remember the command line as well. And it's very simple. In order to open ADUC, you would go through DSA. So guys, as soon as you're here, I'll go back here one more time. And here in Active Directory is stored in a file called ntds.dat, and a function of this file is authentication. It authenticates people. And then Active Directory is divided into 5 partitions. How many? 5 partitions. And first one is schema, second one configuration, third domain naming, application, global data. We are understanding number 1 schema partition. Schema partition we can understand remembering this example that whenever it is the way how you want to define these fields. So how do I define what will be the properties of a user? For example, if I double click on any user here, so if I double click on any user, this user's properties are these. I can enter first name, last name, display name, description, office, telephone number, email, web pages, and all that. As you go through this, it has all these tabs: address, accounts, profile, telephone number, organization. So how did I went through this? To this, I can go to Open ADUC, go to users, and double click on any user. As soon as you open, now this is called schema setting. The way you are saving user. Now guys, if I ever need to add anything to this sheet, for example, I don't see an employee ID here. I can see everything, but I don't see employee ID. If I need to add a new attribute to this, then I need to go to schema and make this change. So if you ever need to change the complete user interface and add some stuff and remove some stuff, that needs to be done through schema. So schema again, going back to it has the definitions of all objects stored inside Active Directory. How these objects are. What other objects are there? So guys, these are all of the other objects. For example, this is a user object, and if I go to a computer OU, it shows me a computer object. Now, what are the attributes of a computer? If I double click on this, it shows me different set of attributes. Now, you might not have, it does not have any object because no machine is joined to this. You would see computer objects only if you have machines joined to your this computer. So let's do this. Everybody is on the screen?
Yes.
So guys, if you ever need to create an object, so in a computer, I need to create a new computer object. What object?
New computer object.
New computer object. All you need to do, right click here, anywhere on this white screen. Make sure that you are in computers. Make sure you're in computer OU. Make sure you are in computer OU. Then right click anywhere, and then here go to new. In new, just say create computer. So I'm trying to create a computer object inside here. So when I create a computer object, so again one more time, I can go to computer OU, and then inside I'll go to new and then select computer. As soon as you select computer, it will ask me, okay, you're trying to create a computer object. Well, what will be the name of the computer? So let's say I want to create HLS PC10. I want to create a object for PC10. HLS PC10. So HLS PC10, or based on our naming convention, it will be CL10. CL10. So all clients have CL, and we have HLS CL1. So I'm creating an object for CL10, HLS CL10. As soon as you create this object, now here you should see an object inside created this OU.
So HLS.
HLS10. So guys, now, so schema has the definition of all of the attributes. Definition of Hasib, what is the example of a definition of it? It seems very dry. It seems very dry. What does it mean? Definitions of attributes.
Like names, address, telephone numbers, it's all definition.
Exactly. How the name a user object is saved, there is a definition. You can remember the example of this. Now, that's the second point about schema. The second point about schema is never change schema. Never change schema. Second point is never change schema, never change schema. Why? Because guys, changes made to schema are irreversible. Changes made to schema are irreversible, and if there is something wrong with the change that you have made, it can completely take down your Active Directory. So for one thing, it was reversible. Second, it was wrong. And since it is wrong and irreversible, is equal to reinstall everything. Reinstall the complete Active Directory. Think of this Active Directory sitting in Rogers, and you try to do something in schema and it went wrong. And it went wrong, and think of this.
You're fired.
Not only fired, you're that fired. Because guys, here, when you have Active Directory does not have just users. Users, their permissions, their accesses, their accesses to different places. So one user has a very complex security structure. Think of a user sitting in Rogers for 20 years. Yes, at the end, it's going to get a huge, big gratuity amount. But at the same time, guys, once the user is there, the person is there. So think of this person joined today. If the person joined today, you created a user account. You created what? A user account. Let's understand it. And today, he needed access to just 3 objects. Then, after a few days, after maybe a month or 2, he had access to few more objects. And then, after a year, he has access to more objects. And then, after 5 years, he has access to more complex stuff. You see one user having how many permissions? So after 20 years, this user is having access to not only boardrooms, not only printers, not only fax machines, not only cars inside the, maybe he also has access to a spaceship. I'm just making it up. Now, spaceship meaning he has access to switches, routers, and all devices. Now think of this user being deleted from the environment. So let's say this user is deleted from the environment. How can you remember? Who can remember how many types of accesses he had? So maybe yes, we can go to his replica user who's sitting in the same department. But this user was there 20 years and this user is just 5 years. You still cannot replicate everything that this user had. And this user himself cannot remember what accesses I had until his server starts going down and he tries to fix them and he does not have access. Until the spaceship went down and he went there to fix it and he said, oh, access denied. And at that time it was known, oh, he has to be part of that group. I'm just giving you an example that when you have a huge big Active Directory, it comes with very sensitive settings. If Active Directory goes down today in this company, it will give them a huge big amount of loss. A huge, by minute, not even by minute, but by second. Because just by this going down, their sales department is down because salespeople cannot log into the network. Their marketing team is down, they cannot log into the network. Their help desk will be down because they cannot log into the network. And all of their customers who are calling in for fixing their issues. And how does Rogers and Bell sell services? They sell services to the people who come for help, right? So my internet is not working. You call Bell, and the Bell, sorry about that. So Bell or Rogers. So Rogers, they have an application called SCRM, right? Customer Relationship Management. So here you're calling them for internet issue. So on one side they see, oh, your internet is down. Let me fix these things. Just hold on a second. Give me 2 minutes, sir. I'm fixing your device. At the same time, on the same screen, he sees that you only have internet and you don't have cable TV, you don't have wireless phone, you don't have these services. At the same time, now it is his time that he can start selling you these stuff while you're waiting for this thing to finish. So this CRM system is all tied up with Active Directory. So if Active Directory goes down, it has a huge consequences in your environment. So in other words, guys, schema is the main brain of Active Directory. So that is why we never make changes to schema. Who can make changes and why changes might be made? So So remember this.
On the system admin, can you do this?
Guys, there are few applications that would require changes in schema. Few applications that would require changes in schema, but those changes will only be made by the application, not by me. So as soon as I run the setup, that application is specially designed to go open the schema, make the change, save the schema properly, and then go out. So in Active Directory, it won't be exaggerating to say that this would be an open heart surgery for Active Directory. So your Active Directory is running and you're trying to make changes to schema. So you have to have either that, you have to be that specialist that Microsoft doesn't recommend, no matter how many years of your experience, don't touch schema.
So basically, if application is going in the schema, I think means like you're doing an angioplasty.
And then you can explain what angioplasty
Means like just the camera goes in and try to clear everything and goes
Yes,
out.
an application would be like that.
So no one
Application
can access
would be like
the
this.
heart, but like
But
did
they're
their
doing
job.
it through the camera
Yeah.
and doing the laser or whatever.
Yeah, but they did the job, but no one touched it.
No one touched
Yeah.
it. Exactly. And then, yes.
What are those changes?
So what are those changes? A very good question. What type of changes can be made here? Guys, I'll give you an example and later on we'll go through that one training. Exchange. I'll just give you an example. Exchange. What is Exchange used for in Microsoft? It is used for email services.
Email service.
So remember, one word for Exchange in Microsoft Exchange is used for email services. Guys, whenever we install Exchange in Active Directory, so for example, this is my Active Directory and this is my domain controller. And I'm installing Exchange in this environment. So before Exchange is being installed, Exchange setup will go to Active Directory and make some changes in schema. And what changes is it making? Guys, it is adding email additional information to user properties. It is just adding some more attributes to user properties, like his mail address, his mailbox restriction, how big is the size of his mailbox, and all that. So Exchange is one application that needs schema changes, and that schema changes is known as schema extension. So this application does schema extension. The only person who can run this application is the enterprise admin. Guys, enterprise admin is a person who is the topmost level person of Active Directory, who has the topmost level access of Active Directory. So guys, for now, we'll keep it short here since we are still in the beginning. So we need to understand Active Directory has how many partitions?
Five.
Five partitions. Schema, configuration, domain, application, global. First one is called schema. We should never make changes to schema because changes made to schema are irreversible. Number one, any errors made in schema will be replicated to all domain controllers. Since they will be replicated to all domain controllers,
It's gonna corrupt the whole.
it can affect your complete Active Directory. Yes.
When you say never make changes, at the same time we're changing it.
Yes. So never make changes manually.
Manual.
Never make changes manually. So I should use the word manually. Huh?
Never like delete it.
So never like try to make any changes. For example, you're saying that the user object, it does not have a field called employee ID. It does not have a field called employee ID, and it is not there. So if we go here, if I go here inside users, and if I go here, I can see first name, last name, display name, description, office, telephone number, and I can see address, PO box, country, zip code, account, sent here, but there is no field for employee ID. So if I decide today, oh, you know what, on my main page of a user, I need to see employee ID, not only employee ID, but I need to see his picture as well. So that will be a schema change. Now, who should do it? Only Microsoft. You would need to employ Microsoft, they would come into your organization and they would start making these changes because they know which softwares to run, which stuff to run. So when I'm saying never make changes to schema, I would say manually. Never make manual changes to schema. Now for that reason, schema console is hidden. So how do you manage Active Directory? What is the management console for Active Directory?
schema, different division.
General Active Directory Management. ADUC.
Yeah.
Remember ADUC?
Active Directory
This
user
console.
converter.
So what is written right here at the top? Active Directory users and computers. In your computers, it is also open.
Yeah.
So our Active Directory Management Console is ADUC, which is Active Directory users and computers. Guys, look at this now. So here, if I go to Start Programs and go to Administrative Tool, I can see Active Directory Domains and Trust. I can see Active Directory Sites and Services. I can see Active Directory Users and Computer, but there is nothing about schema. There is no schema management. But guys, there is a console, but that console is hidden. So there is a process to first unhide that console and then see it. Why? Because Microsoft wanted to be schema check. That was the no in Active Directory. So this information will go into Active Directory. Who came at 6:30? Who came late? Who was sitting here? And all that information. So in other words, domain naming partition will be having that I have Dr. Dave's account, I have Brittany's account, I have what else account was there? Lisa's account is there, and you have so all that account information, and then when the computer joins in, all that information. So basically, this is all their real information, real user information.
Means their data, like their
Yes,
name,
that's the
last
data.
name, first name, everything?
Yes, everything. Yes. So this is the actual data stored in domain naming partition. So guys, this is why it is said among all partition, this is the biggest partition. This is the biggest partition and most frequently used partition. This is the biggest partition. So this is biggest partition, and most frequently used partition. Most frequently used partition. Now, who can tell me why this is the biggest partition and most frequently used partition? First of all, why is it a biggest partition?
Is this the partition when we log in, it goes to
More
this?
like rest of all the details, all the users.
Yes. So this is the partition that has all your user information. So think of Rogers with 60,000 people. 60,000 people information is stored in this.
60,000 computers logged in.
60,000 computers information is stored in this. So schema had just few fields there. Schema might not be bigger than, let's say, maybe it might not be, in this case, it might be, let's say, maybe 10 MB. Not more than 10 MB, because schema is just a stationary information. Whereas configuration is, even in this huge big site structure, it might not be more than, let's say, maybe 100 MB.
Yeah.
But guys, rest of all information, because here you have their users information. What is in the user information? Their first name, last name, address, telephone number, their email address, and all that information, as you can see, if I go back here to the user, this all information is stored in domain naming partition. This is why it is said among all partitions, this is the biggest partition, plus it is the most frequently used partition. Why is it frequently used partition, Bilal? Because there are different users. Every day people's passwords are being expired and you have to renew it. Every day people's accounts are being locked out and you need to fix it. Whenever you do these changes, unlock accounts, reset password, create password, change permission, think of that person's example who was sitting there for 20 years and he has all that huge big permission structure. This is all sitting in domain naming partition. And every day it is being changed. Every day it is being updated. So this is, and these two partitions are not every day updated. So configuration partition will only change if you make changes in a structure. You ever delete a domain controller or add a new domain controller. Then changes are made here. And schema partition rarely changed. Rarely. So So if I can say that in Rogers or Bell,
Rogers.com, that domain's all information goes on here.
Rogers.com. Rogers.com as a website? As a website or a domain?
As a domain.
As a domain, yes, all that information goes inside this.
So schema is like a template.
Schema, exactly. Schema is just like a template, empty template. And real information goes into Active Directory. So guys,
domain. Real information goes in domain.
In domain, yes, in domain naming. Guys, the next partition is application partition. Application partition. Now both of these partitions, rest of the two partitions are not mandatory partition. They are optional partitions. But first three, these three, this is mandatory partition. This is mandatory partition. So you would see all these partitions in all environments. But these two partitions, they are not mandatory partition. They exist wherever they are needed to be. So application partitions are mostly used to save some extra information in Active Directory. So for now, just remember this. It is used to store extra information in AD. So application partition is mostly used by other applications to store their information in Active Directory. Other applications to store their example.
What is extra information?
Yes. What is extra information?
Like
What is extra information? So guys, extra information is this. Extra information is this. So let's say you're working for a hospital and hospital has Active Directory for their employees. So if it is a hospital, if it is what?
Hospital.
A hospital. Guys, if it is a hospital, it has Active Directory. They have their employee information sitting here. They have AD structure sitting here. And they have schema sitting here. What is in application? Guys, in application, for example, there is some special X-ray software. There is some special X-ray software that needs to use Active Directory information. So what we would do is, we would create a special partition for that X-ray software inside. So it X-ray application information will be stored in this partition. For example, in telecommunication organizations, there are SAP applications, SAP application or CRM application. Remember CRM we just discussed, a customer relationship management by which they sell more products to needy people. I mean, needy people. It's not needy people. So help less people. So CRM. So guys, when these application needs to use Active Directory, their information will be stored in this partition. But then it depends on us, Active Directory admin, that should we let them store information in Active Directory? There are a lot of prerequisites for this. But yes, there is a provision that you can store some extra information in Active Directory. Last one is global catalog. Guys, global catalog. So Anjali, what is application partition? Oh man, you won't find it. You won't find a definition for that. So what's happening? Abir, what is application partition? Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Guys here. Extra information. So guys here. I'm always open to suggestions, comments to make this training better. I'm here for you guys. Okay? But I have to meet some deadlines here. So yes, it's a good comment that I'm going fast. If I'm going fast, let me know if I'm fast. But at the same time, I want all of you to be attentive and start taking notes here. Notes as well. I mean, notes and understanding is important. Abir, I know that you want to make your notes perfect. But at the same time, understanding is also very, very important. So the definition that I just gave you for application and the example, if you understood it, you will never forget it. Because these are just simple examples with simple definition. If you go by book, guys, it has a very complex definition for all of them. So for that, I would request everyone to just remember the example and quick definitions here. You were saying something?
So this application cannot be added to schema
So this application, these applications,
because it's a template, right? So why not just adding that extra machine to the schema?
no,
can't be, right?
schema, they cannot be. They cannot be. So for that, this is why in Active Directory, there is a provision for those, that extra layer.
I mean, adding any extra resources you need?
Any extra applications, they need to store their information in application.
Means like we might need it or not, right?
You might need it or you don't.
So we have an
So,
extra.
so for now, just remember this one line. Used to store extra information in AD. For now, this is enough, because in training, we'll go into more depth. So, but the most important partitions are schema, configuration, and domain naming. Application is just for extra information. If it is there, it's fine. It's not there, Active Directory will still work. Guys, the last one is global catalog. So global catalog. Global catalog means that global catalog stores information from other domains in the forest. So main purpose of a global catalog partition is that it stores information from other domains in the forest. Other domains in the forest. So, example. Yes. Question?
Okay.
Information from
Forest is a security boundary. So guys, the very first thing is that one forest can have multiple domains. One forest can have multiple. So let me go back to this. For now, we can remember as this is my forest.
It's confusing.
Okay, hold on. So before global catalog,
It's fine.
it's okay.
Yeah.
So I've just started explaining global catalog. Don't worry, it will be all clear. So first of all, just one liner to remember about global catalog. Global catalog is it stores information from other domains in the forest. Before explaining this, let me give you an example from this. Okay. For example, if on one sheet I want to have both tracks information. So I have track FT002 and half of the page I'll use for FT003 as well. This is called global catalog. If in your domain you want to keep information of other domains within the same forest, this is called that extra information from other domain will be part of global catalog.
What is within the forest mean?
Yes. So yes. So first of all this. If I have just information for one track, this is one domain. But sometimes I do have students from other tracks sitting in the same class, so they need to sign in too. When they are signing in too, then I need to give their names here so that they can sign in. When I use names from other tracks in the same sheet, this is called that I have global information for other tracks too.
So it means you're using a different ID, like student ID for track 1 is different and student ID for track 3 is different. So you're using track 3 ID in the same page?
No, okay, so hold on. Let me explain it here. It is almost like this, but let me explain it. Okay, so think of this. This is my forest. Remember, this was my forest. And inside the forest, I have a tree.
Yeah.
Guys, normally, whenever we start our first Active Directory, whenever we install our first Active Directory, it has one domain only. So it comes with just one domain. So it comes with this domain. And this domain, let's say the domain name is HLS.local. In this domain, I have one domain controller. In this domain controller, I have a database called NTDS. Remember this?
Yes.
So you have a forestry domain and domain controller. Inside the domain, you have a database, and that database is known as NTDS. Right? And then I have inside partitions. What are the partitions that I have inside? I have 5 partitions. So one is schema, second one configuration, third domain, fourth application, fifth
Global and global.
excellent. Although you have written, see, no, some of you remember that. Guys, this is, I mean, we are going step by step. So, do we understand this?
Yeah.
Guys, sometimes for really security reasons, within a same forest, companies would create another domain. So they would create other domains just for security reasons. Why? Because they want to separate some very special information from general public. For example, it could be your
HR.
It could be, yes, HR information. HR information is kept here. Or not HR, actually HR would be, because you're using same information. You don't want to duplicate information. So here, let's say this is your government organization, and this domain is for Navy, and this is for Air Force.
So this is 2 different information.
So although these have 2 different type of people there, but you need to have that security boundary in between them.
2 different departments.
2 different departments that Navy won't give their full access to Air Force, and Air Force doesn't want to give their full access to them. For that reason, sometimes within one forest and one tree, you have multiple domains.
That would be the child domain, right?
Huh?
The child domain.
It would be a child domain to this, yes. So later on, we're going to go how many types of domains are there. But for now, just remember, if there are 2 different domains, but you still need to use some of their information in this domain, their information is stored in global catalog. Now, keeping this in mind, let's read this sentence. Stores information from other domains in the same forest. So global catalog partition, which is sitting here. So this has 5 partitions: 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is my GC. So GC will have partial information from this domain, and in this it has its own Active Directory. So in this GC sitting here has partial information for this domain. So this is just for reporting purposes. Just for
both domains.
This will cover both domains. Yes, but keeping since they had 2 different domains, just to keep security walls between them, it is just their general information. No passwords, no security will be sitting in global catalog. Global catalog. So global catalog, it stores information from other domains in the same forest. Stores information from other domains in the same forest. So last partition was global catalog. Now here.
So we can say store some information, not all information.
Not all information. So yes, it can be said stores
some of the information.
Partial information.
Yeah,
This is called stores partial information.
Maybe we can say it stores domain information. Maybe.
Store domain partial information. Guys, since it stores the partial information of other domain, since it is storing partial information of other domain, that is why it is also called pass. This partition sometimes is also called pass. This global catalog, sometimes it is called GC and sometimes it is called pass, and pass means partial attribute set. It is called partial attribute set. Question? Laura, question.
Have you read this already?
Partial attribute set.
Yeah. Inner triangle for 3.
Database structure.
So here, so this is here. This one.
Yeah.
This one is this one same as this. This here. So
Okay.
this is forest. This is tree. This is domain. Inside a domain you have a DC. Inside a DC you have that database NTDS. And inside NTDS you have 5 partitions.
There you go. Okay.
So guys, here quickly in 5 minutes we need to go through this information one more time, just one more time. So I'm gonna number them, and please take this opportunity and say these words so that we can remember them. Today we discussed about Active Directory. We are going inside Active Directory. Once we are inside Active Directory, then we'll start configuring it. So starting with Active Directory, guys. Active Directory. Active Directory works like this. So number one is Active Directory works like a security guard, and security guard, it checks the ID. So this is ID. This is ID information. If your ID is wrong, security guard won't let you in. Same thing Active Directory does. It checks your username and password. If it is correct, it would let you in. If it is locked out, it won't let you in. Although you're there, you have to unlock it. If your password is not working, it won't let you in unless you reset the password. So all that. So number 2 is, in order to have Active Directory, you have to have a server, then you add a role. As soon as you add a role, it creates a database. So this is number 3. It creates a database. And the database name is ntds.dit. And the function of the database is authentication. And then once you have Active Directory, once you have this database, which is NTDS, what happens is number 6 is this database is divided into 5 partitions. And when it comes to these 5 partitions, number 1 is schema. So number 7, schema. We need to remember it is a definition of all objects and stored inside Active Directory. It is never make changes to manually to schema. One more thing that you can remember, it is a sensitive information. Just remember, schema has sensitive information that should not be touched and changed. It is irreversible. Once you make this change, if it is wrong, it can completely take down your Active Directory. Now the next one, 7 schema. 8 is configuration. What is one word for configuration?
AD structure.
AD structure. It is AD structure. So you have AD structure here. So AD structure. Number 9. Domain naming. That's the most used partition. Why? It has the real information. So number 9, number 10, it stores extra information. 11, global catalog, which is
the partial attributes.
number 12. Number 12 was OU. OU stands for
Organizational unit.
organizational unit. And the example is closet with Britney. No, that's your example. It is a closet with cabinets. Closet with cabinet. So organizational example is, what is the example? In this example, you would use users. In users, you would have, oh actually you can remember, one OU for Toronto. Inside Toronto you have user. Inside users you have user 1, user 2, and so on. And then you're gonna have, so this is my canf.local.
Organizational units.
Organizational units. So actually it was in the beginning. It was there.
Oh, okay.
So here, yay, it's finished. Wow, that's so cute. What is that?
Someone put the alarm.
Now put the alarm for 10:30.
Oh, 10:30 is not even 10. It is. Okay. So yes. So guys, 12 points. Just quickly discuss them, and then right after that we'll have question answer, and then we'll call it up.